presentation mode in this?
You have to go to the right down corner.
Ah, perfect. Okay, and can we bring that up? Yes. All right. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of how encoded communications are used by radical social movements, kind of dovetailing off of what Erica was mentioning about how we've used kind of secret societies and secret modes of communication in order to perhaps like hide the true intent because of the power of the state. So first, obligatory, who are we? My organization is the Electronic Frontier Foundation. We're a Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area-based organization, nonprofit organization, consisting of technologists like myself. There's lawyers who are involved in legal work and activists who fight against terrible legislation that seems to be constantly falling from the sky. We fight for the right to encrypt our communications, privacy in general on the internet, and how to keep our lives to ourselves, even if we are uploading everything to Facebook, perhaps, and work for security on the internet. And you can find us at EFF.org. So who the fuck am I? I am a senior staff technologist at this organization, EFF. And why should you listen to me? I've done projects like HTTPS Everywhere, software projects that you can install on your browser. Now HTTPS Everywhere is something that basically makes sure that you are protecting your communication to a website if there is a encrypted portal. This is commonplace now. HTTPS is, in fact, everywhere. And this technology has now been built into the browsers. As well as Cover Your Tracks, which used to be called Panopticlick. And it's a project which kind of determines how unique your browser looks amongst all the other browsers, and it might be able to track you even without the the use of cookies, which is the most common form of tracking online. So Panopticlick is kind of these are the browser characteristics that you emit every single time that you visit a website, and you can kind of combine those, and through this form of combinatorics, you can really see, this is a unique browser, and it looks like it's the same one that visited this site, and kind of connect the dots and see where someone has visited. And there are various techniques, to obscure this, like using Tor browser, for instance, is a good technique to obscure this kind of technology, this kind of tracking. I'm also a privacy and security auditor, so I take apps and I, put it on a table, and I take the app, and then I take a scalpel to the app, and then I open the app and see what it's doing and what kind of traffic it's sending out, and if it's collecting information about you and sending it to some third party somewhere or wherever. So taking apps behind the scalpel and looking at them, and so what the topic here is the use of code and encryption in social movements, and how do we use code and encryption in social movements? So what is a code exactly? This is kind of my definition. Some method of obscuring a message by employing a method, some kind of algorithm, a method, some kind of number of steps that can be reversed at some point to reveal what the true message is. So you put it through some steps, and you get what is the encoded message, some information that goes in a coded message, and then you're able to reverse it and see what it was before. So this is maybe an example of what is arguably a code, because we don't know if it actually holds a message yet. This is the Voynich manuscript. How many people are familiar with the Voynich manuscript? Oh, awesome. So yeah, so this has not been decoded yet. We don't know if this is a code or if this is a example of randomness of someone who is writing down characters because, through the throwing of the dice. But no one has yet decoded it. So this is an example of a 15th century manuscript. That has not yet been revealed. The true message has not yet been revealed. So it's arguably a code, but we just don't know yet because it hasn't been decoded. This is a code book. And a code book is used in the art of warcraft, and it is using particular words in order to denote some longer meaning. So, here you can say like a canoes is have authority to, or cantrip. Like the Dungeons and Dragons thing, a cantrip is duly authorized. So you can see how it kind of mimics a language in and of itself. So you see, you say some words, and it has information, some meaning, deeper meaning to it, just as if you were speaking on a language that I didn't know, but it has meaning to it, and this information is transferred, in a way that can, if you understand the language, has some imparts some knowledge to you, right? A code book is a good example of this. This is it's not publicly known, but it is distributed to everyone that should have the authority to decode some secret message. And this was common. The way this was done was a common way of sending messages in the early part of the 20th century and before. And this code book is from, I think, 19. I can't see it, but it was early 20th century. So the formal definition here, what is a code? Is in communications and information processing, a code is some system of rules to convert information into another form. Whether it be some words, or like if I said like 157.86 whatever, that could have some meaning that can be reversed into the original message that you're trying to convey. It could be, some any arbitrary information like a letter, a word, sound, image, gesture. So there's various types that can be converted. What isn't a code? So this distinction I make is, okay, you have a code book, and if you convert the same information into the code, then it's going to be that same code for every time. It's a one-to-one mapping. The code to the message, and then that's not going to change. If it's the same code, it's the same original message, it's the same encoded message. Whereas this is something about, it's called a one-time pad. In the art of spycraft, there's this thing where, say, you're a spy for Cuba or spy for Russia or whatever, and you are working on the ground, say in Germany, then you will get a one-time pad by some other agent, or you make a trip to Russia, you come back, and you have this book that's only used one time to reverse messages that are sent to you. And what you do is you take out your shortwave radio, which is a long-distance radio that's able to pick up communications from far away. And this is the way that you get messages in the 20th century via long distances. You tune into a specific station. I think it was 6,000 kilohertz, and for this. I forget actually, but there's a specific station. You tune into it, and you hear something like this.
1, 7, 3, 1, 7, 3, 1, 1, 7, 3.
So you get the idea. This is repeated often, so you'll hear a little chime, and then the chime will come on, and then you'll hear the numbers repeated. And if you take your one-time pad and then combine it with the numbers that you've recorded, then it will then reveal the true message. So this is a form of what is encryption, not encoding. It's encryption because it uses something that isn't easily reversed into the true meaning. So let's talk about code in social movements. This is a blog post by my colleague Alexis Hancock, and she detailed various instances of code being used by the African American community in the U.S. and how the African American community used these to, for instance, in the age of slavery, when slavery was legal in the U.S., that you have this idea of a pigeon, and a pigeon is basically what slave owners would be to take Africans from different areas of Africa and put them in the same plantation in order to try to lessen the amount of collaboration that they had. They couldn't communicate with each other, so they couldn't form conspiracies to overthrow the plantation master, the slave owner. And due to this inability to communicate, in order to just do everyday things, they needed to find some way to say something to the other slaves. And what they formed was what's called a pigeon. So you have some very contextualized word in order to say some very specific thing, in order to say get a task done, or to say, oh, you need to wake up at this specific time or whatever. And this pigeon would take hold and would be communicated throughout the plantation. But then what would happen in the next generation is that the next generation of slaves that were born from the original slaves would form a fully fledged language around this pigeon, and what we call that is a Creole. So the amazing capability of humans in general is to form language, and they took this kernel of the pigeon and then formed it into a fully fledged language. And you can see this quote about the Anglican clergy that observed Africans that didn't speak English, but were able to speak in what's strange languages that these Anglican clergy people didn't know. And of course, it was not just to communicate with each other, but to have some way to communicate without the oppressor being able to know what they were talking about. So this is one instance of a code. Language is a code that is not known by the oppressor. So in this informal crypto language, indistinguishable from random is something that is a core characteristic. It's a basic requirement for modern cryptography. This is something that comes out of modern cryptographic analysis, but historically the adversaries didn't have sophisticated cryptanalysis at their disposal. So when you think about this, given the historical racism and the colonial mentality of the slave owner, their adversary Creoles their language was, in fact, at the time, indistinguishable from random to the clergy. So we see this kind of, this is a formal thing that's used today, but this is a concept that we can backtrace in history because of the historical inability and colonial racism that was at play. So Alexis's post was turned into a comic by Caroline. The comic artist is Caroline. I need to. Her name is escaping me right now, but Alexis Hancock. If you look up on our website, Alexis Hancock, Coded Resistance comic. Then you'll see that it was turned into a comic, and here we have the historical figure Harriet Tubman, who was an amazing woman. She was one of the people that led troops in the Civil War, but she also was this key figure of what's called the Underground Railroad. It wasn't a physical railroad. It was in the U.S., an analogy to a way for slaves to make their way north to northern states from southern states, where slavery in the South was legal, slavery in the North was illegal, and so there's this need to have slaves escape to the North, but of course there's the slave patrols. Historically, slave patrols turn into cops. That's why we say ACAB. Fucking cops are basically derived directly from slave patrols. Anyway, in order to have them with a note that can't be deciphered as they're making their way to the north, then they have this code of like the drinking gourd, which is the Big Dipper in the constellations, pointing its way to the North Star. So that's how you know which way to go. And station masters, which were those that were hiding places for the slaves on their way to the north. And then this note that looks like a fully encoded note, follow the drinking gourd to the tracks. There you will find a station manned by 3 station masters. From there, you will go north, aided by an agent and a stockholder. And a stockholder was someone that financially supported the Underground Railroad and the ability for slaves to escape. So yeah, you have this encoded communication taking place in social movements here. And fast forward to the 20th century, where you had these telephone lines that were owned, this common telephone line that was owned by the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, SNCC, in the era of civil rights, in order to communicate to those that are protesting, to like, okay, here's what we're going to do, and let people know. And there's like these code words that they use in order to facilitate organizing in the era of civil rights. And so SNCC and Congress for Racial Equality if you read the history, big organizations historically that participated in struggle in the 1960s for their civil rights, African Americans. So there's this question underlying this. Okay, we're talking about encoded communications. Well, this is only for underground social movements, right? This isn't for above ground social organizing, where you have mass protests and, the ability of, like, you want to be seen, kind of like, what Erica was talking about, this kind of wanting to be seen thing. And then, not exactly, because even for those that want to organize a large protest, they have to do so without organizing amongst them, the specific tactics being able to be seen, because if they are, then an above ground protest can be dissolved or to be disrupted in some way. So, I say wherever there is surveillance or power imbalances, hierarchies in society, then hiding communications is a really important aspect of doing that. So, fast forward to the present day, where, okay, you could use this kind of code that we have used in the past in social movements. In Twitter, for instance, to say, we have a camping site here, and this camping site, so in the U.S., you might know that Roe v. Wade, which was something that made abortion legal throughout the United States, was overturned, and it's now on a state-by-state basis. So there's organizing going on, being like, well, we can provide abortions here, but you can't see that out, necessarily completely out loud. So because it's illegal to do so now, so they use this kind of word camping as code for abortions. But this is problematic because we live in 2023, and there are advanced algorithms which can simply look up all instances of what something says, oh, this is camping available somewhere, and link it to IP addresses of who is actually sending these Twitter, and it would be subject to a subpoena, legal process, etc. So we need to be more careful in the current day because of the power of surveillance being so deeply entrenched in the state power, state apparatus. So we have this idea of formal encryption. So we have encoded communications in the past, and now we have rigorous encryption that's backed by the power of mathematics, by the power of really peer review, etc. And the first widespread use of this was used by pretty good encryption, or pretty good protection, PGP. You might have, who here has heard of PGP? Good. Yeah. So that was used, for email in particular. Around 2009, there was this need to apply good, rigorous protections, encryption, to real-time chat. So in 2009, this OTR was kind of come up with by Ian Goldberg and others, that OTR is off-the-record chats. It's not the same as off-the-record, but you might have heard about for I think it was a Google Chat. Not the same, but it's something that you put on top of a instant messaging client for instance, if you have, in the US, AOL Instant Messenger was a big thing. Here in Germany, you might know about XMPP. It's another chat protocol. But you put this thing, OTR, on top of it, and it's platform neutral, and kind of like whatever chat you're using in the background, you put this on top of the client, and it enables the encryption for you. Then, we move on from 2009, and there's applications like Redphone, which allowed you to call using encrypted telephone calls, and TextSecure, which is encrypted text messaging over SMS, were invented by someone named Moxie Marlinspike, who then kind of took both of these apps and put them together in an app called Signal. And then Redphone and TextSecure were deprecated, and Signal is what you hear about now with strong encryption guarantees. And the Signal protocol that's kind of derived from OTR, Signal protocol is also used in WhatsApp now. WhatsApp, and then there's another app called Telegram, for instance, that uses some level of encryption as well. So I want to talk about encryption here. I'm talking about end-to-end encryption, meaning you might have HTTPS, and that means that my communications, if I'm talking to someone over in a browser over HTTPS, that's encrypted, right? No, that is encrypted to, say, Facebook, and then from Facebook is able to see it, and then send it on to its destination. So we don't want that. We want end-to-end encryption. So that's encrypted all the way to the person that you're trying to talk to, your interlocutor. What you're sending messages that can't be decrypted by the service provider, and that's what we have for these like Signal, WhatsApp, etc. Yeah, so why does this formality in encryption matter, this being rigorous? Well, the surveillance capabilities of the modern state are far well and beyond what we ever imagined in 1984 even. We have cryptanalysis that's able to look at little tiny weaknesses in an encryption protocol. And if that weakness is there, then they're able to kind of work on that and work on it and actually break the entire encryption system. That's why you need cryptographers to look at it first in order to see that it's not vulnerable to these kind of attacks. And strong security, the promise is for formal encryption is that strong security against advanced adversaries. However, there are sometimes what's called side channels, which are these just a power reading. So if you have my phone and it's using some encryption, then you might be able to derive the encryption key from just the power readings that you put it near a voltmeter or something like that, and you can see exactly what bits it's using in order to encrypt a communication. This is also done with audio, so just hearing the minute differences when you're using a specific cryptographic algorithm, and this is best encryption is discovering these side channels and also mitigating against these kinds of attacks. So trust matters. Trust matters in a couple of ways. There's think about Signal, which is this nonprofit that is controlled by a board whose mission is to formulate rigorous, good crypto for everyone to use. Then maybe you trust that mission versus WhatsApp. WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, and as its mission, it's to increase the profit motive of Facebook, increase their profits, increase their revenue. So you kind of, should. And then WhatsApp has all these things where you want to make it more usable. Usability is important. So, you have encryption, you use it, and then it backs up your chats to server, even though it's encrypted when it's being sent to the person that you're sending it to, then it backs it up with Facebook as well. That's not really what I was looking for. So trust matters in that way. Trust matters because cryptography is not just encrypting our communications to someone, but also acts as like a signet ring, where you historically only people with a signet ring, which is quite expensive to manufacture, would know, and you'd kind of seal an envelope with a ring that denotes that, hey, I'm the person that has this ring that had this custom made for me. And you can kind of be assured, because of limited resources, that I am the one that actually made this communication. So this is for authenticity. It's not just for encryption; it's for authenticity. The cryptographic algorithms can be used in the same way. And that's why it's important when you're using Signal, for instance. There's a mechanism, if you tap on someone's name in Signal, that you have a little QR code. And to compare, this is the public part of my key, and that's stored on my phone, and it's me that you're talking to authentically when you are messaging this number on Signal. So that's why trust matters. Another way in trust matters. So governments have found that it's massively expensive to try to break encryption. Mass surveillance is rendered with mass encryption prohibitively expensive. They can collect everything and not be able to read anything from, say, Signal because this cryptography actually works. But then they rely on targeting specific individuals with vulnerabilities and vulnerabilities they found on their phone. So instead of compromising the algorithm, the communications algorithm, they compromise the phone itself. And then all bets are off. You're able to take screenshots of Signal or something like that. But it only works for one device at a time because you have a vulnerability and you use it, then it's detectable, and it's called kind of burning a 0 day in the language of nerds like me. So this is the kind of way in which vulnerabilities are what. So government use of vulnerabilities we know about. We have issued a Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, request, which is a way to get information from government via laws that exist, and so these laws are showing these FOIA requests, the Sunshine Act requests, how the NSA and other organizations and parts of the intelligence community use vulnerabilities, and sometimes they report them to companies, and the companies are able to patch them because they want to protect their reputation with regards to the vulnerability, and sometimes they aren't. So, and they also use forensic tools. The governments also use forensic tools. So it means that they physically have your phone. They're able to take an image of your phone. This is on the left. This is law enforcement throughout the world that is able to do this. On the left, you have a device called Celebrate, which is to use a UFED, which is a universal forensic extraction device, plugged into an Android phone. On the right, you have a company that manufactures what is a company called Grayshift, which the device is called a Gray Key, and is able to try as many combinations of your phone as possible to unlock it very quickly. And so the government uses forensic tools as well to get at that information. So the key question that I have posed for this session is, does form prefigure content? In other words, back in the day when we had encoded communications like Harriet Tubman using the Underground Railroad, there was some kind of rigor involved in encoding and then decoding communications. You had to put your mind into it. You had to say, oh, well, okay, this is an encoded communication. I need to decode it somehow. Whereas now, when we use Signal, WhatsApp, etc., for encrypted communications, it removes that manual process of decoding and encoding communications like Harriet Tubman did. And so, how does this affect how we communicate, what we do communicate within the realm of these apps? So the knowledge of encryption is happening. I kind of maybe know that, or maybe I don't, and it's kind of sublimated to the realm of the unconscious. So yeah, the theory is that our communication style changes as a result of it being hidden, that we're actually using encryption. It's always double. It's hidden. That we're using encryption is double hidden in some way. But how does it change? And I think that it does change, but how it changes is an interesting question. So security for free means our casual communications are protected and sensitive in some way. But how kind of requires some more research, and I think it'll be an interesting thing to look at in the future to see how exactly the fact that we don't really know that our communications are encrypted all the time, how it changes the way we. I think that we, perhaps it changes in a way that for most sensitive communications, we're protected in our everyday. If we use Signal, we're protected in our everyday. But if we need to kind of have some conspiracy, something real sensitive, then we go to in-person communications and leave our phones and take a walk down the block. So yeah, but of course, this kind of has to rely on some self-reporting mechanism because we aren't actually able to observe how communications are changed because they're encrypted, right? So yeah, that's it that I have for the presentation, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill, and we'll have you back up here in 30 minutes. I keep thinking